The whole point of this is that you shouldn't come at people and be gatekeepy and awful because they do things in a way that you're not supposed to, but also people are gonna come at me for this one. Let's just do it. Hey folks, my name is Rachel. This channel is called theJunieBird, and that's where you can find me on Twitter and Instagram and social media and stuff. Links in the description. Today we are going to talk about doing things wrong and the ways that fandom can be super gatekeepy and awful. So, if that seems like an interesting thing to you, definitely stick around to have a listen to that, be a part of the conversation. Also, go ahead and subscribe down below because I talk about this kind of stuff kind of a lot and I really, really love it. You can click the little bell icon if you want. I don't own you, and also I never click the bell icon on anyone, so I can't, in good faith, ask you to activate notifications for me. But like, if you wanna, do it. Alright, so let's get into it. I am not a professional fangirl. Although, if that is a job and someone is hiring for it, where can I apply? Because I would love to be a professional fangirl. Is that a thing? It's all I want in my life. But as far as I know, that's not really a thing. Not like a job title. So I am not a professional fangirl. I do love TV. And some like movie franchises and book series and stuff like that, but mostly TV. I follow fandom Tumblrs, I read fan fiction, I participate in chats and discussions on various social media platforms about my favorite fandoms. I love TV and I love fandom. I love this sense of community that comes with everyone coming together, usually on the internet, and really, really loving this thing that maybe the people in your day-to-day life don't understand or think is as cool or important as you do. But, and there's always a but, fandom can be super gatekeepy and awful. We as a group want people to love things in the same way that we love them. And so we have this tendency to think that the way that we came into something is the right way to do it. I had a friend one time who I was trying to get to watch Firefly because I loved it and I was obsessed with it at the time. It's still, that's a whole other thing. Anyway, I was telling her, you gotta watch it, you gotta watch it, you gotta watch it. And she came back to me and she said, so I watched Serenity. And I'm just like, wait, what? You watched the follow-up movie before you watched the series that is only 1 season long. What the hell? Like, we do this. It's not just the like cringy, awful people who do this. Everybody does it to an extent. But it's really shitty and there's no need for it. So, in an effort to prove a point, I am going to share a few fandoms that I've done wrong. Before I start giving some examples, I will say that I'm gonna go pretty hard spoilers on like most of these things. I will link down in the description the timestamps for when I am talking about the specific shows. Most of them are TV shows. And that way, if you have not seen the thing and would like to at some point and don't want to be spoiled, then you can skip that one and go to the next one. And yeah, I am including a spoiler warning for TV shows that have been off the air for over a decade. You know what? Fight me. Alright, so the first show that I'm going to talk about is actually 2 shows that I'm going to talk about in the same, like, sentence because I did the same thing wrong with both of them. And those two shows are Elementary and Chuck. Elementary just ended recently, is an adaptation of Sherlock Holmes, and Chuck ended, I think, in 2009 or 2010. And that show was about a nerd guy turned secret agent. It's a little more complicated than that, but for the sense of simplicity, that's more or less what it was about. And both of these shows are shows that I really, really loved right from the beginning. I started watching them when they first came out. I kept up with them really consistently, and then for some reason or another, I kind of stopped watching them. Both of those shows announced before the last season that it was going to be the last season. Elementary just ended, but we knew when the episodes started airing that this was going to be the end. And the same with Chuck. They knew it was going to be their last season before they started filming episodes for it. So when I heard that, I was like, oh my god, it's the last season. I used to love this show. I'm just going to go back to it. And instead of going back to it by trying to figure out where I left off and watching all the episodes as fast as I could to try and catch up, I just skipped the stuff that I missed and jumped in at the beginning of the last season. The next show that I did wrong is The West Wing. So I have made videos and talked about The West Wing in the past. I love The West Wing, but I don't think I've ever told the internet how I started watching The West Wing. The first episode of The West Wing that I remember actively watching was Institutional Memory, which was like the fourth to last episode of the series. Sorry. Yeah, so I watched like not even the last half of the series, but just like the last 2 months of the series, and loved it so much that I went back to watch the rest of the show. The other thing to know about The West Wing is that literally the first thing I knew about The West Wing was that Toby was the leak. So that's a huge spoiler for the last season of the show, and it's a plot point that starts in an earlier season. It starts in season 6 and then like leads up into season 7. So when that plot of like this big like NASA thing, military shuttle thing that got leaked to the press, who leaked it to the press, I'm just like, guys, it's Toby. Like, why is no one seeing that it's Toby? Come on. And then like I slowly realized that that was not a thing I was supposed to know. That was a spoiler, and it was the first thing that I remember about The West Wing. Next show on my list is Fringe. I remember watching the first episode of Fringe. They did like a whole thing with no commercials and everyone was super excited about it. It was super sci-fi, it was really procedural. It kind of checked all the boxes of things that I was interested in and really enjoyed. So I remember watching that, but I also remember that it was on at the same time as another show that I really liked at the time. I think it was probably Bones. So I watched the first episode of Fringe, and then I didn't watch another episode of Fringe until the beginning of season 4, I think. It wound up being a decent place to jump in because they had just reset the universe in some way, so I was figuring out what was going on at the same time as like half the characters. So it worked out really well. I also had a mentor in college who was a huge fan of Fringe, knew that I would love it, encouraged me to watch it, and I said, cool, I'm gonna start watching it, and I'm just gonna start right now. And she's just like, no, don't do that. And I said, can you tell me all these things? Like, I just came to her with all my questions, and I was just like, tell me these things or I will go to look them up on the internet. And she was like, I don't want, okay, I'll tell you the things. Oh, people are gonna come at me for this one. And like, the whole point of this is that you shouldn't come at people and be gatekeepy and awful because they do things in a way that you're not supposed to, but also people are gonna come at me for this one. Let's just do it. Harry Potter. I was in like middle school and high school as the books were coming out. I read a lot of the earlier books after I think 4 of them had come out. I started reading them, enjoyed them. I went and bought The Order of the Phoenix when it came out. We just happened to be at the bookstore that day. I wasn't like actively going to a launch party or anything like that, but I was interested enough to buy the book. And I really, really struggled to finish reading Order of the Phoenix. To this day, it is probably my least favorite book in the series. I asked my mom to buy Half-Blood Prince when it came out, and she kind of said, like, did you finish the last one? And I thought about it and realized that I hadn't. So I tried to go back and finish Order of the Phoenix, and I still couldn't do it. Like, in part because I think I was trying to pick up where I left off and I couldn't remember what had happened. I should have just started the whole book over again, but it wasn't keeping my interest, and because of that, I didn't buy Half-Blood Prince. I wasn't even really aware of when Deathly Hallows was coming out, but I went to camp that summer, and a very good friend of mine was a huge Harry Potter fan, and she had the book with her at camp. So we're sitting around waiting for lunch to be ready and to like start serving lunch. We were working at the camp, and she just waves me over. It's like, come here, you need to read this, like you need to see this. And it was the line that Mrs. Weasley says about Bellatrix Lestrange. She says, not my daughter, you bitch. And she's like, I need to, someone. She was so surprised. She had to like share that surprise and like confusion. And I was the person that she knew would have enough context to be like as surprised and like with her. So without any context for the rest of the book, I read from halfway through the last battle through Harry and Voldemort's like confrontation in the woods, through the end, through the epilogue. I remember sitting with her, like we were sitting right next to each other, I was reading over her shoulder, and we finished the book at the same time, and we look at each other and like we've kind of got that like in awe, oh my god, that just happened, like this epic journey is now over. And then the buzzer rang and we had to go serve lunch. I didn't read Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows until my freshman year of college, which was when the 7th movie was about to come out. I really wanted to go see the movie. I realized that I hadn't read the book in its entirety, also hadn't finished reading Half-Blood Prince, or like only had vague memories of it. So I went back and I think I read Order of the Phoenix, Half-Blood Prince, and Deathly Hallows over the course of like a week, and then went to go see the movie shortly afterwards. That was also around the time or shortly before Pottermore started to be a thing, so I got a Pottermore account in the early days of that website's inception. I remember watching a Harry Potter musical and a Harry Potter sequel before that. Like, I was a part of the Harry Potter community in some way, but also I hadn't finished reading the books. And it's still one of my favorite fandoms. Like, I read so much Harry Potter fan fiction. I just went to go see Harry and the Potters concert recently. Like, I'm a huge fan of Harry Potter and the whole, well, I was gonna say the whole universe, but I don't know if that's entirely true anymore. That's its whole other video, but there you go. That is the many ways that I have done Harry Potter very wrong. Alright, so last example, and I don't know how I feel about this one because I feel like I am actively messing it up as I'm making this video, and that is Star Trek. I've kind of always been aware of Star Trek. It's been around for 50+ years, and I had friends in like high school and then later in college who were really big fans of the series, so I had seen a few haphazard episodes, mostly of the original series. I definitely went to go see the first Star Trek movie in 2009. I think I went to see Star Trek Into Darkness, and I had enough context to know like what the problems were with those movies. Many. Don't want to get it. That is also another video all of itself. Just getting a lot of ideas for videos in this video. At this point, I've seen a few episodes at least of, I think, every Star Trek series, but I am actively watching Star Trek Discovery, and it's kind of the first series that I'm really watching all of. So, yeah. No spoilers, please, for Star Trek Discovery. I'm about halfway through season 1. I've been watching like a couple episodes a week when I can. I'm really liking it, and I am really excited about Star Trek Picard because it looks gorgeous, because I love Patrick Stewart. He's a national treasure. Not our national treasure, but a national treasure. I have loved Alison Pill as an actress since Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, and I'm really excited for it. Have I seen all of Star Trek The Next Generation? Hell no. Like, but I'm still allowed to be excited for it. Like, frickin' fight me, okay? That is the end of my list. There are some of the series and fandoms that I have come into on some sort of false pretenses. And if you're gonna be gatekeepy and awful, then leave. But you'll also notice that most of the series that I listed are some of my absolute favorite TV series and like fandoms. So I don't think you need to come into a show in the right way. In fact, I was at a Doctor Who convention in Chicago when I was in college, and one of the people who was there was Mark Shepard. Somebody during a Q&A portion of his like panel talk asked how they could get their friends into Doctor Who. And he said immediately, just start them with Will Smith or start them with David Tennant. Like, start with whatever you think would be the most interesting to them. And I think that that's really the way to go with everything. Don't start where you think you should start. Start watching a TV show, start reading a book series with the thing that has sparked your interest in it. And if it's able to hold your interest and you're able to understand enough, then you can go back and watch the rest of it at another time. There's no reason that you have to do something by starting at the beginning. Start wherever you want, take it from there. You don't need to know the whole history behind something in order to love it. You don't need to know all the characters or every single detail of every story arc in order to love it. Just love it. And don't be ashamed of that love. Don't let other people stop you from loving something that you love just because they don't like the way that you love it. Just love things and let other people love things. So that's all I have for you guys today. I would really love to hear from you. What are some of the fandoms that you've done quote unquote wrong in the past? What are some things that you love even though you don't know everything about them? And what are some things that you want to love but are afraid of? And how can I get you to do the thing anyway? Because you should. I hope you get a chance to do something that you love today, watch something that you love today, read something that you love today, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. Struck by your electric love, baby, your electric love, baby, your electric love.